All right, away we go. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered, the instant reaction show. And for the first time today, the overtime drive. We're doing things a little bit different. Happy holidays to you and yours, wherever you may be. So we're going to combine what is the college football playoff selection show and what is our usual overtime drive. We'll give you our best bets for week 14, the final one of the college football regular season, and our predictions. And for those of you paying attention at home, you now know Chris and I are tied going into the very last week, and we have several picks that are different. So there is going to be a clear winner, and there is going to be a clear loser. Welcome on into the show. Real quickly, make sure you like the video, hit the ring notification, and of course, subscribe to the channel because we talk college football daily. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the social channels, link in the description, and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are proudly brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL. FANDUEL right now is getting you locked on in for the college football playoff season. And simply put, just sign it up using the FANDUEL.com/SECU. Play $5, win that bet. Get $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Could be on same-day parlays, player props, subs, whatever it is. FANDUEL.com has got you covered. FANDUEL.com/SECU. Chris will be on in a minute. He's running behind. He's doing a couple of other interviews and things that we had to do for other assignments. So because of it was a Tuesday night, we moved some things on up. We are going to start the show without him. Let's get into the comments so that way we go ahead and say hello to everyone. Turkey Slammer, I got to believe that's Miss Terry's bathwater. I think that is. But Sandman's in the chat. We got Sandman still. Cole Patrick, we're going to talk a little bit about the Lane Kiffin stuff. Naturally, we have to. I'm already stressed for this weekend. Anchor down, Jordan Hayes, you and me both, brother. Ole Miss just dropped on brand recognition. A lot of things that could have happened. Okay, so let's start off with the latest that we are hearing about Lane Kiffin. Right now, there is still a ploy to probably be in that conversation of everyone being available. From what I've been told, from what Chris has been told, there is no decision made. Now, it does feel like, if you talk to some people, that naturally there is going to be a decision in favor of LSU. That's the way that they think about it. The other thing is, they also believe that there is going to be a favor out for Florida. Now, for the people that I've spoken to, it does seem like the inevitable will turn to LSU. That's what it seems like it's going to be. Doesn't mean it's entirely true. Doesn't mean it's entirely false. But from what we're gathering, that is where we are. So Lane at this point is going to be coaching on Friday. He will be in Starkville with the Rebels. And afterwards, a decision will likely be made late Saturday, Friday night, or early Saturday morning. So all things that could very much be made available, little things that are really going to be behind closed doors. And in my opinion, at this point, the writing's on the wall. It is what it is when it comes to what is the future of Lane Kiffin. The only person that knows is really Lane. And I genuinely don't think that anybody else has a good understanding. There's been multiple people who have said on countless occasions, yes, we are going to go with Lane. Yes, Lane is coming to Florida. Yes, Lane is coming to Baton Rouge. I don't truly believe all of that notion just yet. I think that we're waiting until the very end to get to that level. But we are going to eventually get a good understanding. As of right now, no news is kind of good news because of it kind of shows you that anything is still on the table, including a deal to come back to Houston. Back to Ole Miss. But if Ole Miss is to end up winning this football game, it doesn't really matter what happens to Lane afterwards. They'll be in the college football playoff hunt. They'll be very much hosting a playoff game. As you saw tonight, they were penalized. And this is why it is a big deal that Ole Miss has to win this weekend in the Egg Bowl. Not because of, I think, that you are looking for bragging rights to be able to have a home field game. It's because of your college football playoff hopes are on the line. Did anybody else see what's happening? Well, if you haven't, as I pull up the slide to go ahead and get these locked on in, that way you guys can see, Ole Miss moved down in the pecking order. Very, very interesting to see how they were. Ole Miss dropped to 7, and Oregon moved on up to 6. Now, naturally, what did we know? We knew that Oregon was going to have to be tested to finally move on up. Oregon made the jump on in because they were able to beat up on a top 15 USC squad. And so when they beat up on USC, the committee said, you know what? That's good enough for us. We're locked in. We think that you're good. We're going to go ahead and put you on in as the number 6 spot. So now they're in at number 6. Then we got to go look at number 7. So if they were to lose this game, it's no guarantee that they're even going to be back next year because they know that right now, if you lose as a top 25 team, I mean, it's a top 10 team with how many teams are ranked behind them? How many teams are locked on in at that number 2 and 3 and 4 spot? That becomes a problem. And so now you got to ask yourself, well, where's the focus? The focus, hopefully, will be on what's going on currently when it comes to the college football playoff and winning this game, this upcoming matchup. Who's to say if it will? That's going to be a bigger question, but we have no idea. All right, let's go ahead and look at the overall rankings currently for the college football playoff selection. Here we go. There we go. That's better. How do we make this a good fit? No, that's not good. Sorry, guys. Chris usually does this, so it's an easier fit than me. Okay, cool. So as we see, 25, Arizona, 24, Tulane, 23, Georgia Tech, 22, Pittsburgh, 21, SMU. No real surprises there. What you can appreciate is that the College Football Playoff Committee has said on occasion, listen, we do love what we are seeing from the likes of the college football, from the likes of head-to-heads. So SMU, they don't have a head-to-head one, but they're the favorites to go to the ACC title game. Pitt, they have to head over Georgia Tech, despite having a worse record. Pitt jumps ahead of Georgia Tech, so Georgia Tech on in. So problem solved. All right, Arizona State at number 20, Tulane, Tennessee at number 19, Virginia at 18. Virginia and SMU, based off of the current bracket, because if they would have a head-to-head win over Miami, they would be in Charlotte for the ACC title game. Now, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. USC drops all the way down to 17. Texas only moves up one spot. And I find this really interesting because Texas has kind of made it clear that at this point, they are going to have chaos occur. They were already going to have chaos occur. But look at who's at number 15. It's Michigan. Michigan this weekend hosts Ohio State. And you and I both know what this rivalry is. It is a daunting task for both sidelines. So ultimately, what you got to look at is, well, let's see. If Michigan beats Ohio State and somehow, some way, Oregon were to lose to Washington, well, they'd be going to the Big Ten Championship against Indiana. And if they were going to the Big Ten Championship against Indiana, well, at that point, they would end up having a spot guaranteed in the college football playoff. Now, the bigger question is a 10-2. If Indiana and Oregon were to win their games, they'd be playing, does Michigan get the head-to-head? And whether or not you want to agree, common opponent loss, whoever that is, because it would be a common opponent loss in favor of Michigan and a common opponent win, that ultimately Michigan would have the edge. So Texas needs Michigan to lose. They need Miami to lose. They need Vanderbilt to lose. They need Utah to lose. They probably need BYU to lose, all just to have a conversation to get close enough to the top 10. And then on conference championship weekend, depending on what happens with Alabama, what the score of that game is, they may still be out of luck. And BYU is another one they got to be paying close attention to. 15, we have Michigan. 14, we have Vanderbilt. 13, Utah. 12, Miami. 11, BYU. Now, reminders to everyone out there. BYU still controls a lot of this destiny that we're not talking enough about, because with BYU, if they were to win in the Big 12 title game after a win on Saturday, they're probably not leaving out Texas Tech. Because if Texas Tech goes 11-1 and they have a head-to-head win in the regular season over BYU, they're going to be locked on it. So again, feels like that's a pretty easy step in the right direction. Therefore, we automatically know who is sitting where. Number 10, Alabama. Pretty simple. Alabama wins on Saturday. They're going to go to Atlanta. They're going to be in the college football playoff, bearing a complete and total implosion in the college football playoff. In the SEC championship. We'll talk more about that in a second. Notre Dame at 9, Oklahoma at 8. Again, both of them, they win. They're in. It feels like they're almost lockstep, locked on in. Ole Miss, you win, you're in. Oregon, moving on up to number 6. It's going to be really interesting to see where they rank them if they were to lose to Washington. Do you still keep them in the top 10 after getting an impressive win over a team that many people believed at the time was going to eventually have to kind of show itself? Well, now they're up to number 6. Number 5, Texas Tech. Number 4, Georgia. Number 3, Texas A&M. Number 2, Indiana. Number 1, Ohio State. Okay, so big takeaways here from all of this. And as we do, let's pull up our bracket to make sure that we are good on that standpoint. Beautiful. Here we go. All right. So Notre Dame would go travel to Norman. Ole Miss would play host to Alabama. Basically, Lane Kiffin's next 2 schools, if it was my decision. Oregon would play host to Mario Cristobal, who would return to Eugene. And Lubbock would play host to the Tulane Green Wave with John Summerall, who very well at this point, after seeing what Eric Morris did today, could make it be known he is leaving for Auburn, but he is staying through until the season's end. Top 4 seeds are as follows. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Number 3, Texas A&M. And number 4, Georgia. Okay, back to these rankings first. I think that there are 3 main takeaways we can have. Number 1, if there were to be a 2-loss team to get on in from the SEC, outside of the ones that we already see ranked, it would be Vanderbilt. But even Vanderbilt, there comes a ceiling. Because if you still would need to have a few more upsets, and that would likely come at the hands of BYU losing, and then losing again to not make it to the SEC title game, then you would throw in Utah losing this weekend. You probably would need Texas Tech to also lose just to guarantee that there is only one Big 12 team on in. And you probably also would need Miami to drop it because Miami needs to have at least a little bit of a stopgap between you two. So that's number 1. Vanderbilt, they may have reached their ceiling for all we know. Whether or not they beat up on Tennessee, that remains to be seen. What it really comes down to is the teams who are ahead of them. Number 2, Texas needs a lot of chaos. And I said this last night, and it wasn't to be rude, and people want to take it that way, and I completely understand. But with Texas, guys, you have 3 losses. Part of the reason why you're in the conversation to make it to the college football playoff as an at-large bid is because of one of those losses. The committee told you at the very beginning of the year that they would cater toward teams that also had records with prominent losses. If you scheduled tougher out-of-conference games, you would not be penalized for it. So a 7-point loss to the number 1 team in the country is why at the very beginning, you had an opportunity to even be into the top 10. Then what happened? Well, you got embarrassed by Georgia on national television. You lost by 25. You also have the Florida loss. That's not that good. So ultimately, now you're sitting at 16, and it does feel like that there is a cap. So it wasn't to be ill will. It wasn't to be rude. It wasn't to come after you. It just was simply to say, this is where Texas kind of resides. Number 3, Alabama is still not a guarantee, in my opinion, to make the college football playoff. So the whole conundrum that we're looking at right now is the Miami, the BYU, and the Utah Trinity. That's what I'm going to call it. The reason I'm going to call it that is because those 3 teams really do control what happens to that number 10 spot. So as you heard on the broadcast tonight with Reese Davis, if somehow, some way BYU is able to get on in and win the Big 12, so they win this weekend, then they beat Texas Tech. You're not keeping out Texas Tech if they're 11-1. You're just not. So then you have to look at Alabama. Well, Alabama would then have to win the SEC title game. Okay, so if they win, no problem. 5 highest conference champions would be in. Alabama would fit that criteria. Who gets knocked on out? That remains to be seen. Notre Dame potentially isn't that option. But then here comes the other thing. What if BYU doesn't win and Texas Tech is in? But what if Alabama is destroyed by Texas A&M? So both win, but one team wins by 21 and the other team wins by 4. Well, I don't think you have to worry about the BYU being on in, but that Miami conundrum right there at number 12. If Alabama loses by 3 scores and they're completely knocked out of all conversations, Miami would get the at-large bid. And if Miami were somehow to lose, then Vanderbilt could sneak its way on in if Utah also were to drop a game this weekend. So Alabama needs to not only show up this week, they also have to make it a close game. And probably some of you are asking to yourself, well, Cole, wouldn't they make this decision well before the college football playoff selection show on Sunday? It feels that way. It does. But is that true? Last season, we all thought Alabama would have been in at 9-3. They would have been the first 9-3 team in because of the quality wins that they had, because of all the matches that were here, because of things that they needed to accomplish. And lo and behold, they just need SMU to beat Clemson. Well, Clemson comes and rolls its way back in, and they get the win nearly in overtime. Time expires, big time field goal. Well, SMU only lost by 3 points. So they rewarded SMU for having an easier schedule, a 1-loss conference record, and then losing in the conference title game by a slim margin, then putting in 3 teams from the SEC that they all knew were overqualified and definitely would have made it a better battle against Penn State. That's what happened. So if somehow, some way, A&M is able to march on into Atlanta for their first time against Kalen DeBoer and company, and they do what most teams that are built to win national championships do to inferior competition, then Alabama may or may not be safe. Yeah, they would have 4 ranked wins. They'd be in a really good spot based off of what their resume says. But that's not all entirely true. Because if at the same time, how you play in that game that wasn't promised at the start of the year does, I think, factor into the committee. And at the same time, does the SEC really need to have 5 teams in? In my opinion, they should have 6. because I would include Texas. I absolutely would consider Vanderbilt for what they've been able to accomplish this year. If Tennessee made a run, if they were able to have enough chaos happen their way and they beat the brakes off of Vanderbilt, do they belong in the conversation at 9-3? That's probably a little bit too far, but that's not the way that I work. That's the way that my brain works, not the way the College Football Playoff Committee brains work. So what does that tell you? You got to be able to win this weekend and keep it close. If those things happen, then maybe, just maybe, you'll put yourself in a position where at least you know for a fact there are things that the committee will pay attention to where you'll fall down to the 11 spot and they'll give the 10 spot to who? Whoever's the ACC winner, SMU, Virginia. What if somehow, some way Miami ends up winning this weekend, both those teams lose, and now they have a back way into Charlotte? Problem solves a lot of issues right there. So let's look at the bracket once again. What a matchup it would be in the first round. Think about this. So Lane Kiffin, let's say he does stick around and is Ole Miss's head coach long-term. Let's say that he is the guy that truly is supposed to bring Oxford into a new light. Well, at this point, you would take off all offers from the table moving forward. Unless it's Alabama. If it was Alabama, I mean, you can't really blame the guy. He coached there. He revitalized his career there. Nick Saban was his idol. He did a lot of things that you really appreciated to truly turn him into the coach he is today. They probably come calling. But if anything else, that's just the former school where he worked at, and he turned multiple quarterbacks into superstars, where he was able to help demolish an offense personnel that was back-to-back #1 in scoring 2 years. They had a Heisman Trophy winner at running back, and they play host to Alabama. Like, name a time in your society that you would ever imagine Alabama, Ole Miss in a playoff game where Ole Miss was the higher seed and they would be the ones controlling the pathway to face off against Indiana. How about Oregon? Oregon playing host to Miami. So Miami at this point, yeah, nothing's guaranteed. That's just the ACC representative. But what if Miami is lucky enough, they win on Saturday, a few more things occur, then they win in Charlotte? Well, now Mario Cristobal is going back to Eugene. And remember, I'm not sure if any of you guys were paying attention, Oregon did everything possible to keep Mario Cristobal. They made him an offer when it came to resources, when it came to Nike deals. Phil Knight was very much trying to keep Mario Cristobal involved. And he said, no, I want to go home. I want to go back to the place that taught me how to become a better coach. Okay, well, now the coach that replaced you is having better results. He had an undefeated regular season last year. He is signing a long-term deal. He is bringing in better recruits. You are constantly seeing the revolutionary of their performance being elevated. And it feels like that they lose a coordinator, they bring in another coordinator. So did Mario make the right call? Well, win in Autzen Stadium, place you know very well. I can tell you what, it's a pretty good way to guarantee that you're in a good spot. Going to Norman, this to me would be a really intriguing one because Notre Dame's best asset is its rushing attack. Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love, in my opinion, today should be the Heisman Trophy winner. He probably won't because, again, it is just as per usual, the numbers that we see for a running back. It's a concern. It's an issue. But this is the best run defense in the SEC. It's one of the best run defenses in college football, if not the best run defense in college football. You want to know if CJ Carr is actually built to make a run in the college football playoff and lead Notre Dame back to the promised land of winning national titles? He's going to have to beat the #1 defense in the sport right now, who has basically been outgained offensively by over 300 yards over the last 3 games combined, and yet still they've won against top 25 teams back to back to back. John Mateer, what can you provide for this offense in a game against a Notre Dame team that isn't as talented as a defense from last season, but still a very good one? And then lo and behold, we also have Tulane, who'd be playing host who'd be traveling out to Lubbock. To me, that's a really intriguing matchup because of, do you think that if you are Texas Tech, you can kind of take your foot off the gas? Joey McGuire and company, they really feel well built. Meanwhile, you're mentally preparing for that match against Georgia in the second round. And finally, lo and behold, welcome to the show, Chris Phillips.
What's up? Dude, I apologize for being so freaking late, but when you overbook yourself, this is what happens, folks, when you try to do it all. So here we are. Hey, Cole, what's up?
Hi, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you. So you're deep into the playoff ranking stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to go backwards. We're just going to keep it rolling. If you want to keep going, I'll let you. I'll just kind of react to whatever. You're just going through the matchups, I assume?
Yeah, basically at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bama Ole Miss seems pretty interesting. If Ole Miss actually finishes it off and Bama finishes it off, that's what's crazy, how much this can change because of rivalry weekend and, who can get knocked out, who can get in. I'm sure you already went on your rant about Texas being at 16.
Listen, guys, again, I'll make this clear. There's no CFP for Texas. I don't really care what you have to say. It wasn't me. It never was personal. What it is, it comes right back to this. They put Michigan ahead of you. You beat the brakes off of Arkansas, and they said, you know what? Michigan played Maryland, and we're going to move them ahead. If that doesn't tell you that you have very little to no shot of getting on in, I don't know what will, even with the win on Friday. And I'll tell you what, you could win. You could easily win. It wouldn't shock me in the slightest if you were able to pull it on off. But I just don't see a scenario where you have so much chaos ahead of you to where you're going to be able to jump all the way up to number 10. And I make this clear. It's not number 11. It's not. It's number 10. If you're not in the top 10, you're not going to the playoff. So Utah would need to lose. Miami would need to lose. Vanderbilt would need to lose. Michigan would need to lose. Alabama would need to lose. Just for good measure, you probably want Notre Dame to lose as well. So many things that need to occur just for you to even get back into the conversation. You moved up one spot. They moved Michigan up 3. If that does not tell you where they think that you are because of those 3 losses and 2 horrendous losses, one on national television, I'm sorry. Now, if you ask me just from a playoff standpoint, no, I believe very much so that we should see Texas in if they were to win on Friday.
Bear, quick question. Let's assume that it's Alabama, Texas A&M in the SEC title. If they both win, that's going to be the scenario. Georgia then, let's say, beats Georgia Tech. They would not play. They sit at number 4 right now. Do we think they would stay in the top 4 with no championship game? Or would they slide just outside of it? How would that work out? I wonder. I guess Georgia's not going to move, right, if they don't play, correct?
They would move down if Texas Tech, I think, won the Big 12 over a common opponent twice.
Okay.
That would be my theory of it.
Okay. I mean, I think if you're Georgia, if you're not going to play in Atlanta, I think you're hopeful that you're outside of the top 4 because you want that home playoff game. At least from a fan base perspective. I don't know exactly what Kirby's thought process on it is. He obviously wants to go to the SEC title, play in Atlanta, and try to win it again. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of teams out there lobbying for and wanting the home playoff game. Ole Miss is fascinating to be here from a standpoint of if they lose to Mississippi State, Lane Kiffin departs and goes elsewhere. Is that enough to kick Ole Miss out the club and kick them out of the playoff? And what a travesty it will be, obviously, for the Rebels and that football team. But, I mean, they're at 7. That's not out of the question, is it? I mean, I don't think that's actually that outrageous. And then my other big question is just Vandy at 14. How much more than a win over Tennessee do they need to happen? Like they're going to need some teams, I think, in front of them to lose. I mean, they're probably going to need an Ole Miss, a Bama, I don't know if like a Miami could drive. I don't know. Like they're going to need chaos in front of them. I don't know if beating Tennessee is just going to be enough for them.
They need Miami to lose to Pitt. They need Utah to lose this weekend. They need BYU to lose this weekend. They also probably would be beneficial if somehow, some way, Stanford could pull off the upset against Notre Dame. And you probably want to just guarantee that there is no shot for Michigan to get on in and they lose to Ohio State. Because the other thing that you got to remind yourself, Chris, if Oregon were to lose to Washington and Michigan were to win against Ohio State, Michigan would go to the Big Ten championship game. I don't think that you can say a 2-loss Michigan team that plays in the Big Ten title is going to be left out. Just like the same thing I say about Alabama. I don't think there's a scenario where you can say a 2-loss Alabama team who plays in the big SEC championship game, as long as it's not a beatdown, can be left out. So they probably also need Michigan to lose just to guarantee that they're in a good spot.
A 10-2 Vandy being left out will not sit well with SEC Unfiltered. We can assure you that right now. Bear, really quickly, Turkey Slammer, what's your worst bet this week? I know we're not into best bets yet, but I'm just curious.
Man, I have no idea right now. Probably, if I'm being completely honest, probably betting on the Texas. I'm betting on the Lone Star Showdown. Probably.
Yeah.
Because I know what that game is.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Our guy, David Gibson, Ole Miss might get kicked out if they win. Even if Lane leaves, Bear, no way you're leaving out an 11-1 Ole Miss I don't care if they have no coach. There's no way you're leaving out an 11-1 Ole
Oh,
Miss.
11-1. No, you're not leaving them out. If you're 11-1, you are
That
guaranteed.
team has earned their right if they do that.
No,
That
but I think at the
team is
same time, there's just mathematically, there's no way for you to look at an 11-1 team in any conference and leave them out. Like the reason why, like let's say BYU were to win and then they beat Texas Tech. I'm not leaving out Texas Tech if they win on Saturday against West Virginia. That'd be foolish. Because if you were playing a game that you weren't promised at the very beginning of the year, and Ole Miss can't control that their coach wants to leave, they did their part. They won multiple top 10 games. They would be playing against a team. They'd be beating a team that, I mean, they're still ahead of a team and have a better record than a team that they beat. And we can all agree, if Oklahoma wins on Saturday, they're in the playoff. Mm-hmm. There is a no doubt about it. They're in the playoff. Well, Michigan has the, I mean, Ole Miss has the head-to-head. That's just it.
Joseph West, if 10-2 Vandy's left out, what depths does SECU go to? We will march to Grapevine, Texas, where they do these stupid rankings with torch and pitchfork in hand. That's what I'll say.
Every single one of us will.
We will. I will come straight from Nashville down to Grapevine. Me and all the doors. We got hell to raise. Either way, guys, that is the latest brackets. Obviously, I don't feel like there was a ton of change after the quote-unquote cupcake weekend, but this weekend, no doubt, there is going to be a ton of movement. Upsets are on the horizon really quickly just because I jumped in here late, which, again, I apologize. Running through the top 25 really quickly for those via podcast, especially that are listening. 25 Zona, 24 Tulane, 23 Georgia Tech, 22 Pitt, 21 SMU, 20 ASU, 19 Tennessee, 18 Virginia, 17 USC, 16 Texas, 15 Michigan, 14 Vandy, 13 Utah, 12 Miami, 11 BYU, 10 Alabama, 9 Notre Dame, 8 Oklahoma, 7 Ole Miss, 6 Oregon, 5 Texas Tech, 4 Georgia, 3 A&M, 2 Indiana, and 1 Ohio State. So, like we mentioned, rivalry weekend going to change a lot of this. Certainly a lot still left to be decided when it comes to the college football playoff. Don't forget, we've got next Tuesday's playoff reveal. And then after championship Sunday, championship Saturday, we've got that Sunday, the mega show where all the final rankings are released. Certainly that the most important of the rankings, because that's going to tell us truly where everyone is going, who is in and who is not. All right, Bear, we got a lot to get into. I do want to talk a little bit about some things we're hearing on some of these coaching searches, but very quickly, like I mentioned, a little bit frazzled, jumped in late. Kind of like you need to do a timeline cleanse, show cleanse. Happy early Thanksgiving to all of you out there. I do want to say that. We are thankful for every single one of you that tunes in. Obviously, this will be the last overtime drive, last live show of the week. As we go into the holiday, then we get into games on Friday. We'll have tons of reactions to those. Saturday, same thing, reactions to those. Hey, there might be some big coach news that day. Per Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin is going to be making a decision. We'll be reacting to that. Then, of course, Sunday, fun day. You guys already know the drill, content bleeding out of the eyeballs. Bears, we go into Thanksgiving. I have a question for you. Is it stuffing or is it dressing?
I call it stuffing. I know it's a big time deal.
No, listen, I was thinking about this, though. I was like, I don't really even recall hardly what I call it every year. I think that I call it stuffing. I do. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I think I call it stuffing. But I feel like stuffing is what's stuffed in the turkey. Dressing is like a side, and we have it as a side at my Thanksgivings growing up and now. So, like, I call it stuffing, though. I don't know what that says about me. Also, are you a deviled egg guy?
If they're on there, I'll eat them, but like I'm not upset if they're not on the table.
I'm not a deviled egg guy. No, it's not really my thing. I don't know. Just not one of my favorites.
There's a big argument though, and I've never understood. It's like beans and chili. It's like the exact same thing. Is it stuffing or is it dressing? Like people want to argue with that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, just like beans being in chili, it's like who cares? It is what it is.
No. They don't belong. There is a right way to do chili. There's a wrong way. You were doing it the wrong way. By the way, when you were in Austin, did you have chili?
I did not have chili, Cole. I don't know
about Texas. And we talk about this all the time.
chili. I know. I don't know if I'm ever destined to have chili in Texas. I have to make like that like a priority next time. Listen, I had Matt's El Rancho, one new place at a time. All right. That being said, Bear, all right, let's get into this. We've had a lot of updates on a couple of the coaching searches. Obviously, Lane Kiffin is the big domino here. We've heard some things on Arkansas. I've heard some things on Florida. So without further ado, I want to get into this. And I will be clear, quick, concise with it. On the Ole Miss, specifically on the Lane Kiffin side. From what I was told today, talked to some folks down in Gainesville, I would still lean, and I'll have an update tomorrow, by the way, percentage update. That's been something people have been looking forward to and asked me about. I'll have an updated percentage on my crystal ball where I think Lane Kiffin's going to land. I would still say right now I'm leaning LSU. If it ended today, I would say he'd sign with LSU. I was told today, though, interestingly enough, that Lane Kiffin and his team are wary of what is going down with Brian Kelly. That is something that concerns them a little bit and gives them some pause, some hesitation. I don't think it's going to be enough for him to not take the job, but understandably so, right? I mean, listen, LSU owes Brian Kelly money. They don't want to pay him that money. I don't give a damn why they don't want to pay him that money, but they signed a contract to pay him that money. It's not a good look for LSU to not pay money that they owe someone. So either way, that is something they're wary about. I don't think it'll be enough for him to not take the job. That being said, more updates as we go throughout the week. This thing's ever evolving, ever changing. Heck, Lane Kiffin may not know where he wants to go, but I'd guess LSU right now.
I wanted to push back a little bit and ask you out of curiosity.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now it's LSU. Let's say that does become a deal breaker. They don't have enough money to be able to pay him up front, what was already promised. And then we're in a Nigerian prince on the email form. Like, oh, we promise you this amount, and then it doesn't happen. Does it turn toward Florida, or does it turn toward Ole Miss staying, in your opinion?
If LSU falls apart.
If LSU falls apart.
I'd probably say Florida. I think it's probably least likely he goes back to Ole Miss.
Okay.
At this point. I mean, that can change. I think Ole Miss would probably – here's the thing. I think they'd welcome him back. I think there'd be a lot of people in that Ole Miss community that wouldn't want them to welcome him back because I think they're just tired, dude. I think they're tired. I think they're exhausted with the back and forth, the games, the nonsense, whatever. So I'm going to guess Florida. But on that note, interestingly enough, Bear, an update on the Florida search. Again, I talked to a buddy of mine, really tight with the situation down in Gainesville. Interestingly enough, Florida is preparing and bracing for making a move to go a different direction if Lane Kiffin doesn't work out, although there's still a lot of confidence down there. They feel confident that despite the fact that everything is leaked in favor of LSU, Florida feels like, hey, behind the scenes, we're still in really good standing. We're staying in contact with him. Like, heck, I saw Allie Peak today, one of our friends of the show. She went as far as to say that if Lane Kiffin doesn't take the Florida job, he bold-faced lied to some people down there in Gainesville because he said he was going to. I mean, who knows? I take Allie's word is a pretty solid one. So, I mean, who knows? He may have said that. He probably did say that. What I was told, though, is Florida is bracing for impact from the standpoint they've got other candidates in mind. There were 3 names that I was told.
I know 2 of them.
Eric Morris from North Texas. Bye-bye. You're at Oklahoma State. See you later. John Summerall at Tulane. I don't think that's happening. I don't think they want him, to be honest. Like the fan base, I mean. I don't think the fan base wants him. I think he's going to be going to another SEC school.
Yep.
The other name that was floated to me that, I heard this over a month ago. This guy wanted to get out of where he's at. He wanted to come either to the state of Texas or to the SEC. That being one Mr. Lincoln Riley. And from what I've been told, that if the Lane Kiffin thing, if he chooses LSU or Ole Miss on Saturday, by God, if not Sunday, probably Monday at the latest, you're going to see Florida on a jet to Los Angeles to go make an offer Lincoln Riley's going to have to tell them no to. And guess what? I don't think Lincoln Riley's going to tell them no, based off what I've heard about the fact he wants to get out of Los Angeles. He wants to get back to this part of the country, if you will. I think there's some things at USC he probably doesn't like. I think Lincoln Riley very well could be the next head coach of the Florida Gators. And again, this is something that I know, whatever. I don't tab myself as an insider by any means, but guys, I heard this over a month ago that Lincoln Riley was trying to get out of USC, that maybe he wasn't quite as happy there as some thought. then comes the rumblings of where would he be a good fit. Then comes the rumblings of, hey, Lincoln Riley's actually reaching out to these schools because he is actively ready to move on. Then USC loses to Oregon. They're out of the playoff conversation. The door is open. The door is open for it to happen. And I got to be honest with you, Bear, I think if Florida, and it's a big if right now, it's a lot of things got to come together. I think if they got Lincoln Riley, I don't think that would be a bad hire by any stretch. It wouldn't be Lane Kiffin, but I mean, could be a good fit. That's all I'm saying. It'd be a fun hire, no doubt. At minimum, it'd be a very fun hire in Gainesville. So we'll see what happens.
I would just much rather hire John Summerall at this point. Sorry. Like I would.
I just don't think Florida wants to go back. Like that. Look at who just
I would
failed.
have kept Billy at this point.
Look at who just failed. G5 from the state of Louisiana. I just don't think they're going to go back down that path. I don't care. I don't think it's fair to John Summerall, but I just, from an optics standpoint, I don't think they're going to do it.
So out of curiosity, when they land in Los Angeles and they go meet up with Lincoln Riley, are they just going to ask him, hey, what direction does Seattle, Washington to call Jed Fish? Because that's better hiring.
From what I have been told, Jed Fish is out of the running for the job.
It's stupid. It is.
And I don't know if that's a Florida decision. I've also been told that Eli Drinkwitz is, and you probably saw the meeting that's happening in Columbia tomorrow, which I would assume is a contract extension. Well, Florida has a search firm doing their search. And when you have a search firm, they vet candidates, they do digging on them, and they look for any red flags. And I was told that apparently when Florida's search firm did their vetting on Eli Drinkwitz, I don't know to what specifics. I don't know. They found some things on Eli Drinkwitz that raised a red flag that they didn't like, and they took him out of consideration.
So here's the reason I will push back when it comes to the Lincoln Riley thing. And it actually has nothing to do with the hire. I think it would be a B- hire. It wouldn't be impressive, in my opinion, when there are some other names out there. The reason why I'll push back is because Lincoln Riley right now has USC trending in the right direction. And I don't know if you pay attention to recruiting rankings.
They're highly ranked, yeah.
They're number 1 in the Big Ten. I think they're number 2 overall. Unless you're taking half of those recruits with you to Gainesville and they are committed to Lincoln Riley and not USC and their sums of money, you're getting reset in a lot of ways. So, yes, Lincoln Riley and the Trojans are not going to the playoff this year. We saw that based off of what the numbers said when they were ranked tonight. But there's such a good foundation in place, knowing that now you feel like that you're built to start competing in the Big Ten. Do you really want to throw that all away just to go to Florida where you don't know what is going to be the new outlook? You hit reset on your clock, but now comes different expectations. What if you struggle there early on? Florida and USC are built a little bit different. They may tell you guys, it's year 3. We gave you money. We gave you resources. We gave you all the stuff that you need. We have a good staff on site when it comes to behind the scenes, athletic complex, nutrition, all the strength and conditioning. This is you coaching, dude. So, do you really want to take that risk? I get that Florida needs to make a hire, and I get that they need to make a splash, but I just don't see a scenario where Lincoln right now is leaving unless he is that unhappy at USC. And again, he may very well be. He very may well be. I just don't see it when you're bringing in that many recruits.
I will just say I think the allure, Cole, of getting to the SEC, and let's just call it for what it is, coaching at a place that cares about football. I know USC's USC. I get it. I understand it. But they don't care out there.
Sure.
On the West Coast, they just don't. They don't care. I mean, I think the opportunity to get to a place that gives a damn, I think is I'm sure that's what Lincoln misses. He was at a place, Oklahoma, where it was life or death. And granted, he's the one that dipped out and ran out, if you will. But I think after a while as a competitor, that probably gets a little old, just being at a place that it almost feels like you're going through the motions a little bit. So I think he'd be crazy not to take it, to be honest with you. I do. To take the Florida job, I think he'd be crazy.
If I could guarantee that I'm taking half of those recruits with me, I would agree with you. The problem is that if I'm leaving a school with a top 3 recruiting class, I'm having to start all over. That's where it's kind of challenging. And I think it's a very fair question to ask. Are players committed to Lincoln Riley, his system, and his identity, or are they committed to USC? So I will say on that one. And by the way, if you really want to get back to the SEC, why not go make a move at Arkansas? I hear that they're very much looking to make a hire right now because they just swung and missed on Eric Morris.
Yes, on that note, Bear, on the Arkansas, Arkansas is one that's interesting enough. Like, we have not spent a ton of time talking about because the Lane Kiffin thing has dominated things so much. The Arkansas coaching search is very interesting. They have been told no a lot.
Yeah.
James Franklin was the most notable, where I think they very openly wanted him. Here's the deal. Arkansas, in a lot of ways, is just not invested in winning at the highest level. When your support staff's one of the lowest paid, if not the lowest paid in the conference, that's a problem. Like that, coaches are not going to want to come be a part of that. They're not going to want to subject themselves to I cannot even surround myself with the people that I need to surround myself with to win at the highest level. That's just the reality. I don't know how you fix that. I'm not Hunter Yurachek. I'm not in that building. I don't see the books when it comes to Arkansas athletics and the University of Arkansas, but like, they are not invested in winning the way they should be. Bottom line. I don't know how it gets fixed. It doesn't make sense to me, but it seems to be the reality. Now, Eric Morris, who I think a lot of us thought was the guy there, he's going to Oklahoma State. So now where do you turn? I mean, do you go Kane Womack? Are you trying to convince him to come to your school? I mean, do you go – is Ed Orgeron that crazy of a choice? I mean, at some point, like, somebody has to take that job. And then
I got one for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
He's getting paid a lot of money somewhere or another. Hire Brian Kelly. Do it.
God, dude.
Do it. Do it. Let's see how much he wants to coach.
Jesus. I mean, do you give Jimbo a call?
Brother, come on. I'd much rather Brian Kelly than Jimbo Fisher. I would much rather Brian Kelly than Jimbo Fisher. And that's saying a lot.
I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, when I was in Austin last weekend, I was hanging out with some buddies of mine that cover Texas and know high school football in the state of Texas. I mean, dude, they were just telling me, like, guys they talk to, assistants and different coaches, they're like, dude, like, why am I going to go to Arkansas to be looking for a new job in 4 years? Like that's kind of the feeling around it. It's like, dude, they're not built to win and win at a high enough level to where my ass ain't on the hot seat in 3 to 4 years.
Well, the other thing that you have to remind yourself of is that with Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, they're fourth in the pecking order. Texas A&M, Oklahoma are all right ahead of them. Not to mention in the state of Texas, you also have kids looking at Alabama and LSU and Florida and Georgia, and some are looking at Tennessee. So really, you're like 8th or 9th, but you're 4th, just simply right in the pecking order of the greater Dallas area. And that's just in the SEC. Chris, SMU has money to spend. They are going after kids in that area. TCU has money to spend. They're going after kids in that area. So the reality when it comes to the Arkansas job is you have one of two things that you can do. You can either A, admit that this is a program where every few years we would like to be competitive and get to that 9-win marker. But it's okay that if we have a 3-win season and a 5-win season, because that's what the resources say, or we're going to give you a bucket load of money, and therefore the expectation is supposed to be a lot higher because we're fully investing in the program, because we believe that we should be competing alongside Ole Miss, Tennessee, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, all these teams in the conference. But you can't say in one breath, we have no money, we're not spending money on the program, but also we are going to ask you to get to 8 wins every single year. It's career malpractice. It just is.
Yeah, I'm fascinated where Arkansas goes from here. Is it a Jeff Traylor from UTSA?
2 years ago, that would have been one of the smartest hires that they could make. Now, it's dreadful. Top to bottom. Now, don't get me wrong. They had a good win on Saturday against ECU. He's coached there before. He understands the lay of the land. But it's so underwhelming when you look at the results since the team has moved to the American Conference. It's like, I think you'd be smarter going with Kane Womack just simply because if he was able to win at the Sun Belt, and most recently, he's been orchestrating a top 15 defense. That might be good enough to convince Hunter Yurachek, dude, you're the best guy for the job.
Bear, what's a better job? Being the DC at Alabama or the head coach of Arkansas?
I mean, if we're going to go to that level, it's the head coach of Arkansas, simply because it's your decisions. Like, if you end up doing a good job there and you fix the program, one of two things is happening to you. You're going to get paid more money, or you're going to go to a better school. The DC at Alabama is probably a better job than most G5 jobs out there, but still, it's a job in the SEC, and it's a head coaching job.
I was just curious what you would say.
What would you say? Don't even.
If Kalen DeBoer beats Auburn, I think I could argue that the DC at Bama could be a better job. If they lose to Auburn, I think he should go to Arkansas.
I think he should go to Arkansas.
And I think he should run to Fayetteville. I think he should run.
I would take the job before. I would take the job before bowl eligibility was announced.
Yeah,
well,
realistically, no, I'm half kidding. The head coach at Arkansas is a better job. It is.
I will say this: it does feel very likely they go the coordinator route at this point because
somebody's gonna have to, dude. Like, not everybody can. There aren't enough guys out there. But
I'm telling you from the standpoint of Ryan Silverfield. If you don't want the Memphis coach, okay, so be it. But Alex Golesh, if he's offered that job, he's looking at it and saying, "Why did Eric Morris turn it down?" That would be the very first question I would have going into an interview. Why did a coach that you were so sold on go to a Big 12 school over you? What was the reason? And if you get the right answer, okay, I'm out. John Summerall. Hey, Auburn wants to pay me a lot of money, but I really think that I can build something here at Arkansas. Why did Eric Morris turn you down? You hear the real answer? All right, I'm out. So at that point, it comes to you're probably going to have to go after a defense. I mean, you're probably going to have to go after a coordinator. And Womack seems like the first option because Glenn Schumann probably got a phone call and hung up immediately.
Bear, I'm going backwards here, by the way, but one final thing, and then we'll get into our best bets and our pick 'em. I was told in reference to the Florida job that one Mr. Brent Key, whose name was floated around and floated for that job, I have heard that he wants to stay at Georgia Tech. So you can kind of forget that. Brent Key, more than likely, at least for Florida, doesn't sound like he's going to be leaving Atlanta, which, you know what, good for Georgia Tech. He's a hell of a coach. They've done a hell of a job there. I know recently they've struggled, but he's done a hell of a job. They can
still get to 10 wins if they pull off the greatest upset in college football this season.
One of them for sure. Turkey Slammer says, would you rather have lifetime tickets to Arkansas football or a coupon for free milkshake at Chick-fil-A? I mean, you probably have a lot more. I hate to kick our Hog fans when they're down, but listen, that milkshake is going to hurt a lot less.
Yeah, but it's free. I mean, where am I sitting? Am I in a suite where I can just ask for a milkshake?
Good point. There could be a milkshake machine in that suite.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, am I getting a private jet flying from Houston to Fayetteville every weekend? Because that's way more than a milkshake. Or do I have to pay for my room and board and lodging all the way to get there? And then if that was the case, it's too much every single weekend. Just give me the milkshake. I'll be happy. I have no ties to the program.
You heard it, Arkansas. You know how to get Bear down there to Fayetteville. All right. That being said, Bear, week number 14, rivalry weekend is upon us. Let's get into our best bets. Let's get into our pick 'em. Before we do, of course, our best bets are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, once again, check out our friends over at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/SECU. It's NBA tip-off week. FanDuel is your home for live betting. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And, of course, they've got college basketball. They've got all your rivalry weekend lines, bets, what have you, NHL. We just mentioned NBA, NFL, whatever you need. FanDuel.com/SECU to bet alongside myself and Mr. Cole the Bear Thompson. Guys, that being said, it is a wacky week this week. Our guy Eric Reese is working very, very, very diligently. But with that being said, we are going to be, forgive my French, raw dogging this episode without any of the graphics, whether that be best bets, that be pick 'em. So bear with us. You'll have to stare at the Bear's beautiful face and just envision there is a graphic where his face typically would be and maybe where my face would be as well. So, and I'm going to make this really easy for us, Bear. I'm going to run through. I'll say my pick or I'll say my bet, then I'll give your bet to you and let you explain it. So starting off, my first bet, I've said it already. And by the way, guys, go watch all the previous predictions, everything, all the breakdowns. We are well into the previews and predictions for rivalry weekend, getting them all out to you before the Thanksgiving holiday. I said it already, though. The easiest bet on the board this week for me, it is Mississippi State plus 7.5. I think there's no more distracted football team in the country than the Mississippi State Bulldogs, or excuse me, than the Ole Miss Rebels. I think Mississippi State will be able to take advantage of that. Even if they don't win, 7.5 is too much to me. I love Jeff Levy and company covering 7.5. We will be there in person to take it all in. Give me Hail State plus 7.5. And by the way, before we go any further, again, I feel like a jumbled mess all over the place. But Bears sitting at 33-32. I am 34-31 going into week 14. Wanted to get the records out there, but starting off hot, Mississippi State plus 7.5. Don't let me down, Hail State. Don't let me down.
Just stay in the same state, stay in the same atmosphere, stay in the same 11 a.m. window. I'm taking Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and I'm taking the under. I just do not see a scenario where Ole Miss is going to take their foot off of the gas. But I do think that there is going to be a level of scrutiny. I mean, the line's set at 62.5. You're talking about a 33-30 finish for that to come into reality. I think this is going to be more so around a 27-24 type of game, 27-21 type of game. Maybe at best, I could see this being a 30-20 type of game that still is under 62 points. Feels like the under is going to hit in this matchup, even though there are some questions when it comes to the overall defense of Ole Miss. There's a lot of questions when it comes to the overall defense of Mississippi State. I think both end up showing up just enough to guarantee that this is going to be a matchup that ends up finishing below 62.
Bear, speaking of a total, let me go to the game down in Norman, Oklahoma. Because LSU and Oklahoma. I am a sicko for this play because the over-under just 2 days or so ago, maybe even yesterday, it was up to 38.5. It is now down to 36.5. Folks, it's still not low enough. Hammer the under. I took it at 38.5. I might take it again at 36.5. I don't even know if LSU is going to cross the 50 in this football game. Oklahoma's defense is of national championship caliber. Both the offenses stink. There's a reason this number is so low. I love the under. You could set this number at 28.5, and I'd at least think about it. So I took the under 38.5. You could take it 36.5. I still love it. Hammer the under. Absolutely sicko mode bet, but I don't give a damn. Let's get sicko in rivalry weekend. Defense dominates in Norman.
I believe that Georgia is the best team currently in college football from a standpoint of consistency and more specifically, momentum. When you play with momentum, when you play with that daddy, when you're starting to figure some things out at the right time, good luck stopping you. So good luck stopping you, Georgia Tech, because I just do not see it that way. I think this is going to be a blowout. Georgia Tech, Stevens, if you haven't been paying attention, last 3 games have given up over 120 points combined. They've given up over 1,600 yards of offense. And this is an offense that knows how to put up a lot of yards. This is an offense that knows how to score quickly and also knows how to score with momentum and with motion. I think even though it's a touchdown deficit, they're going to cover the 2-touchdown lead. I'm taking Georgia at minus 13.5.
Georgia wins big. I like it. Let's go to the game
clean
in college.
Old-fashioned hate.
Yeah, clean old-fashioned hate. How about the Lone Star Showdown Friday night? Texas has all the confidence in the world. It's a big brother, little brother dynamic. Little brother's just better than you. Give me A&M minus 2.5. It's the year of the Aggie. They're going to do something I thought no team would do. That is finish off the undefeated regular season. Again, I know Texas has tons of confidence, and Texas fans have tons of confidence. I felt it. I heard it. I sensed it last weekend in Austin. But, guys, Texas A&M, they're just a more complete team than you. They're a better football team than you, and I think they're going to show that on Friday night. So 2.5, even if it's a low scoring or even it's a close game, they're going to cover the 2.5 number. Love the Aggies to get the win, get vengeance for last year, punch their ticket to the SEC title, and finish off an undefeated season.
Go to the Palmetto Bowl, Willie B., where South Carolina would love nothing more than to have bragging rights back-to-back years over Clemson and say that the SEC is better than the ACC. And you and I and most people know that going into the season and what we've seen so far in these common opponent matchups, which is why the college football playoff is struggling to find an ACC team. Neither one of these teams is good. Neither one of these teams have met expectations at the beginning of the year. But I do think that the atmosphere of Willie B is going to play enough of a role to make this a 4-quarter battle. And I'm going to take the over in this game. I think that you will see a couple of back and forth blows. I do think you will see Lenore Sellers and Kate Klubnik lead their teams down to the wire. 44.5 feels like a very easy number to kind of play with that line. You can teeter on either side. I don't think you're wrong. I'm going to say the over hits. I can see this being a 27-24 finish. That would put me at over 50 points.
Bear, I'm going to go to the game you were discussing earlier, Georgia Tech. I don't know if Georgia covers, but I like the over 59.5. I think we're going to have a lot of points. I think Haynes King's a baller. He's going to ball out. Gunnar Stockton's going to keep doing his thing. I think it's a little bit higher scoring game than most expect. I think here's the thing. It's either going to be higher scoring because both teams get up into the, let's say, 30s, or Georgia just runs away with this one and wins at something like 42-20 in the overhit. So either way, I think over 59.5. I think we get lots of points in this ball game.
Give me the matchup out in Columbia? No, in Fayetteville. My apologies. There we go. Fayetteville. See, that's how much I care about that game. Bottom line. Arkansas, you've let me down. You're really not far to me. You got so many other problems right now going on when it comes to your status of a head coach, what's going on with your athletic department. Bobby Petrino is not going to be probably retained this offseason. He's probably going to be looking for a job elsewhere. So what does that mean? That means that your focus is not on football, and Missouri's focus is fully on football. Ahmad Hardy did not have a good game. He's up for the Doak Walker Award. He wants to find a reason to guarantee that he is going to get the Doak Walker Award. So I am taking the Missouri Tigers to not only win, I'm taking them to cover. Line's only 2.5. I think that's a very fair line for me to easily look at the Tigers and go, dude, you could win by 10 and it wouldn't shock me at all.
Bear, final pick for me. I'm going to go to the game you discussed earlier. I think South Carolina and Clemson actually goes under the number. I know you went over. I'm going to go under. I had it at 46.5, but at 44.5 that you got it at, I will take that as well. I think this is a lower scoring affair. I'm not buying either one of these offenses. I'm not buying either one of these quarterbacks. I'm being totally honest. I think the inconsistencies with both quarterbacks, I like the under in the game. Give me under 46 or 44.5, South Carolina and Clemson.
We roll to Rocky Top for my last pick. And lo and behold, Diego Pavia, Joey Aguilar, bragging rights on the line, predictions and promises on the line. So far, every other one has been met. Quite literally, every other one has been met by Diego Pavia. And now we got to talk about the one he made with Bussin' with the Boys. I don't know if that will come true. What I can tell you is that Tennessee's secondary, their pass defense, is 111th in the country. And you know what's worse? Vanderbilt's secondary at 113th. So this line is currently set at 65.5. I still think the over is going to hit in this game. It is going to happen. It's going to be an overtime game. I've already made my bold prediction. This game will go end in overtime. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to run with it.
There you have it. I like it, Bear. I love the overtime pick there for that game. Those are our best bets, guys. Again, Bear sitting at 33-32. I am 34-31. So right there, neck and neck as we go into the final weekend of the regular season. On that note, Bear, speaking of being neck and neck, as again, we go into week number 14, rivalry weekend, final weekend of the regular season, our pick'em, where we find ourselves tied as the good Lord intended, both sitting at 98 and 21. I'm kind of disappointed neither one of us is at 100 wins at this point, but it is what it is. 98 and 21.
I mean, 21 losses in 13 weeks. That's not bad.
Is that what, 21 losses in 13? Yeah, that's not terrible.
Well, that's not terrible at all.
Not terrible. Not bad. It's not bad. There's some picks out there I regret for sure. Like, for example, picking Florida to beat Tennessee last week, but that's neither here nor there.
Baylor to beat Auburn.
Yeah, there's some. We all have our picks we wish you could get. What did you have? I think Toledo to beat Kentucky.
Yep.
That was another one.
That one was dumb.
Yeah.
They beat Texas A&M. Thought that one was dumb.
Yeah. We've all got our picks we wish you could take. But I am, however, tied at 98 and 21. Again, it was just meant to be. So with that being said, we've got 10 games this weekend. Without further ado, let's go ahead. And like I mentioned, guys, we will have obviously the pick'em graphics dropping for you tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But without further ado, Bear, let's dive into it. Let's start, of course, with the Friday slate. And it's getting kicked off in style with the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Ole Miss, a 7.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 62.5. You are going with Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. I am going with Mississippi State. Let the chaos begin early on a Friday, my friend.
Brother, it could happen. It wouldn't shock me. But this is for more than Lane Kiffin. This is for the state of Mississippi to be represented in the college football playoff. This is for all those players who had no idea what their season was going to be when camp broke in the early stages of spring, when camp broke in fall camp, and when they didn't know who was going to be the starting quarterback once Trinidad Chambliss, a kid from Ferris State, started to figure some stuff out. They're doing it for them. This is going to be a team win. This is full, straight-up Varsity Blues 2.0 in real life. Screw the coach. Screw the identity. We're here to win as a program. We're here to guarantee our spot in the college football playoff for the first time in program history. They're winning this football game.
Can't fool a locker room, Bear. I don't know what he's telling the team this week. I don't know how locked in these guys are on the task at hand. And Jeff Lebby needs that signature win. I think he gets it. I can't wait to witness this game. My ears are going to be ringing for probably a solid week from the Cowbells. Bear, let's go to the game in Atlanta, Georgia Tech. It is clean old-fashioned. Hey, the number, by the way, Bear, has jumped up. I believe it was 12.5 before. It is 13.5 now. Georgia favored, over-under set at 59.5. Shocker, you and I are both going with the Dogs to get the win. I told you this, Bear, on the preview. This ain't no damn rivalry. It's a domination. Georgia wins this game every year. They're going to win it again, and it'll be a lot less dramatic than it was last year.
Yeah, sorry. I just don't trust what we're seeing from Georgia Tech's defense at all right now. Blake Gideon, I don't think he's in over his head, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel pretty. It's been very hit and miss for multiple games now. It's starting to feel like this is the reality of who Georgia Tech's defense is. And I'm not trusting this to be the moment where Gunnar Stockton decides to revert back to what the preseason expectations were by some people. Oh, game manager that can't make a throw to save his bleeping life. Like, I actually expect him to more so signify his status as a Heisman Trophy contender.
Bear, let's go to the Lone Star Showdown Friday night in Austin, Texas. Texas A&M is the 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 51.5. And surprisingly enough, you and I are both going with the Aggies. Battered Aggie syndrome is dead and gone, it seems, as A&M, we predict, will finish the season 12-0 and head to Atlanta.
So that means that Texas has just won their 9th game of the 2025 season. They are now going to fight and bitch and mope and ask for 1 million people, hey, we belong in the college football playoff because we have 3 top 10 wins. Because we both took them to lose. So that's the way the magic works. I just view this as a simple point of, I've seen this story before, and I get it. It's a rivalry game. You have to throw all logic out. But what I can tell you is last season, even when I felt like you had to throw logic to the wayside, this still was such a good matchup to where I knew that Texas was built to go into College Station and win. I feel like Texas A&M is built to go into Austin and win.
I agree. I think, again, still one of the most complete teams in the country. They can beat you in many more ways than Texas can beat you. We'll see if Arch Manning can give it up, though. Our guy, Alex Daltrey, appreciate you, Alex. You the man. If Texas plays like they have the last few weeks, they will beat the Aggies. Big if.
I'll go as far to say they should beat the Aggies with how they've played the last few weeks. Should and could are very different things.
Yeah.
Or should and
or
if.
Should and will, very different things.
Yeah, should and will are very different things.
Joe K, happy Thanksgiving, by the way, to you and yours as well. We appreciate you. Bear, let's get to the Saturday slate of games. Let's go to the game between Kentucky and Louisville. In Louisville, Louisville's a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 47.5. You and I actually both going with the Wildcats to punch their ticket to a bowl game.
I think that what this really comes down to is there's so many injuries right now for Louisville. No Chris Bell. Question on Miller Moss as your starting quarterback. And I don't know how much of that SMU game you caught, but it wasn't pretty for Louisville's offense. They have been treading water for really the last 2 weeks. Did not look great against Clemson. Looked awful against SMU. They've gone from being a playoff dark horse to not even being eligible to go to the ACC title game. And there still is a lot to play for Kentucky. They want to go to a bowl game. They want to prove that Mark Stoops can stick around for another year. He went on record and said, I'm a Kentuckian. I want to be here. I don't want to lose my job. I want to see this thing through. Guaranteed way for you to come on back. Know that you're going to the college. Know that you're going to a bowl game. Best way to guarantee that you are not being fired.
Bear, let's go to the Palmetto Bowl in Columbia, South Carolina. Gamecocks are a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 46.5. Clemson's already punched their ticket to a bowl game. South Carolina cannot. Either way, still a lot on the line in this rivalry. You are going with South Carolina, and I am going with Clemson to win this game. Like I told you, for whatever reason, the road team has a lot of success in this rivalry, but it's not a certainty. It's not a guarantee, but I'm sticking with that line of thinking. But again, you're going Lenora Sellers and Shane Beamer to get the dub and at least go into the offseason on a high note.
Death, taxes, Shane Beamer, and the War Chickens winning me over. That's what this really came down to. There's no logic or rhyme or reason behind it. I just think that Lenora Sellers has got to show me one time that he is still the Heisman favorite that I believe he can be. And more specifically, you're going into the offseason with the momentum to guarantee you make necessary staff changes and personnel moves that put you in a position where you can compete. Because remember, we all heard Shane Beamer say, can't wait to see us next season, waiting around the television, watching where we are in the college football playoff. Okay, you got to make a lot of changes. Best way to start change, keep winning against your in-state rival and showing why the SEC is better than the ACC.
Yeah, need to build that momentum for sure going into 2026. Bear, let's go to the game on Rocky Top. Tennessee's a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 65.5. Boy, with all these close spreads, we're in for some thrillers on Saturday. You and I are both going with Diego Pavia to get the win at Neyland. And like we mentioned, go check out the preview, by the way. The prophecy is yet to be fulfilled. Diego's got one more promise. One more to finish off. And that being taking over the state of Tennessee. And that means taking the state from the Vols and punching the ticket. It better be punched to the playoff. We're both going Vandy. I was a little surprised by that.
I will hit pause in the playoff right now because unfortunately, I just feel like there's going to be so much chaos that occurs to get you on in. And here's the other thing that we have to have a conversation on. Whether or not we agree with this, if Texas and Vanderbilt were to win, I believe the committee would have a serious dilemma on their hands because of the head-to-head. One team won, and one team played against a very good out-of-conference opponent and lost by 7 on the road in week 1. That is where I could see a scenario of Texas having the head-to-head for Vanderbilt getting on in. But still, first 10-win season for the Commodores. Diego Pavia, guaranteeing that your team was going to make a run to the playoff. His Heisman hope is still alive. Clark Lee, finishing the assignment of what he projected when he took the job. Bring Vanderbilt to its peak. Make it one of the best programs in the country. He can do that this year. And I'll go a step further. If Vanderbilt wins this football game, if Vanderbilt guarantees a 10-win season, within a week, Jared Curtis will flip his commitment from Georgia to Vanderbilt. He will become a Commodore. This will be the thing that puts him over the edge. He will see the vision. He will understand this is why I'm supposed to go to Vanderbilt.
I'll say too, man, I'll predict if they win this game, and I don't think they win it if Diego Pavia does not have a good day. I think he's a lock to go to New York. I don't know if he's a lock to win it, but he's a lock to go.
No, guarantee a lock to go to New York at this point. Yeah. I think at this point right now, he is going to still go to New York if he has a solid game and they lose.
Yeah.
If he wins it, he 100% is going.
Yeah. Again, us both going with Vandy to get the dub. Let's go to the game in Norman, Bear. Oklahoma's 4 quarters away from the college football playoff. Standing in their way is LSU. OU's a 10.5-point favorite. The over-under is set 36.5. Whether you're a sicko like me and you think the under is going to hit or not, the bottom line is this. We both have Oklahoma getting the win over LSU. And Bear, again, I think it's in pretty dominant fashion because of the defense. LSU still with tons of talent, but again, we're both going with the Sooners to punch their ticket.
It doesn't even really matter how much the offense shows on up. I just don't trust Michael Van Buren. I mean, look at his last 2 starts. Yes, he's had a couple touchdowns. Yes, he is 2-0. But Arkansas, you won by 1 point. Western Kentucky, you won by 3. It was cupcake game. And you nearly tripped on over the cupcake. This is the best defense in the SEC, if not the best defense of college football. If I see 2 touchdowns from the offense of Oklahoma, that might be enough to get the job done. Quite literally, you could look at your defense and say, this is all we got. And they'll probably lick their chops and go, all right, bet. Time to feast on Tiger. That's what they're going to say, and then they're going to be in the playoff.
Bear, let's go to the game down in the swamp. Florida and Florida State. Both of these teams really limping into this one. Florida is a 1.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 51.5. I'm going with the home Gators. You're going with the Noles to come into Gainesville and get the W. Explain yourself, sir. The Fighting Mike Norvells get the job done?
It's more so I think that there is no life whatsoever left in this Florida team. That's what I believe. It has nothing to do with Mike Norvell. It has nothing to do with Florida State. It has nothing to do with them fighting for bowl eligibility. It has everything to do with looking at how the status of Florida showed on up against Tennessee. Tennessee's not a great defense. Tennessee has a great offense, but Tennessee does not have a great defense. You couldn't do anything against that defense at all. Florida State's a comparable defense. Not an elite one, not a good one, but a comparable. Rather, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. I just think that Florida State is going to find a way to win this one.
I'm going to go with the Gators. I think they got one more bit of spark left in them. I guess they could burn me back-to-back weeks, but we'll see what happens. Bear, arguably, we saved the best for last, and that being the Iron Bowl. The SEC Unfiltered Tour will be in attendance, the final regular season stop. Alabama travels to the Plains. They are a 5.5-point favorite over War Eagle. The over-under is set at 46.5. You've talked a lot about the voodoo shaman man, the magic, the chaos. Nick Saban has called it a cursed venue. Craziness ensues at Jordan-Hare, but you and I both say it does not matter. Alabama will get the win, punch their ticket to the college football playoff and the SEC championship game, sitting at 10-2, beating their arch rival.
Now, I argued this earlier before you got on. I still don't know if Alabama is guaranteed to be in the college football playoff.
What are they? They're at 10, right?
They're at 10.
Are you factoring in like losing in the SEC title?
If they were to lose by 3 touchdowns,
okay,
they would be out of the playoff. If they were to lose by a touchdown, I think that they would be in. But I think that when you look at Miami, if they were to win this weekend and be 10-2, it's a very easy way for the committee to wash its hands and say, look, head-to-heads really don't matter because both still got it. If BYU were to beat Texas Tech and Alabama were to lose big, well, you're not keeping Texas Tech out and you're not keeping BYU out as the Big 12 champion. That cancels it out. And then there is a scenario somehow, some way to where if Texas A&M were to lose to Alabama, well, at some capacity, someone else got to get knocked out. So Notre Dame would probably be out of the conversation. Regardless, with all of this, I think that you have to see it be close. You and I both knew last year. South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama. Every single one of them was far and away better than SMU. But SMU lost close and the committee did not penalize them. If you lose big, you are not guaranteed a spot.
There you have it. Guys, those are our picks for Rivalry Weekend. Week number 14, the final weekend of the regular season, if you can believe that. Unbelievable. This is the last time we're going to have the overtime drive, and it's talking about a regular season weekend of football.
I was like, yeah. Not the last overtime drive, but it's the last time that we're talking about
last regular season overtime drive for 2025. Crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
And I still will hear people complain about how some of the games last week were so freaking boring that it cost you an opportunity to. And here we go, 6 months from now. Oh, I miss college football. Because we all know that's how the way the business works. We do. It's just the way the nature is.
Yeah, just is how we are wired as humans. It's, what did he say in The Office? How do you know you're in the good old days before you've left them?
Well, ask Lane Kiffin. He said it a couple times this week.
Lane Kiffin says a lot of things. A lot of people love to say things. Not many people love to do things. So
bold predictions to get on out of here.
Diego Pavia, 400-plus yards of offense.
Tennessee, Vanderbilt goes to double overtime to guarantee the win.
Oh, I know a good one. The one I gave today. I think Connor Talty wins the game for Alabama.
You are a sick man.
A Bama kicker in Jordan Hare.
What could go wrong?
The ultimate redemption.
What could go wrong? It's not like I've ever seen this happen before. Can you give me a second to think about it?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. That's all I need. Just one.
I'm going to follow the same path as you a few weeks ago. Cutter Boley ends up having a 400-yard day against Louisville. Gives you a little bit of hope going into the next season.
I had one I think is too bold. I was going to say South Carolina benches Lenora Sellers at some point in the game.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too much.
Well, maybe a little too bold. How about this? Clemson benches Cade Klubnik at some point. Yeah.
That would be interesting. Ole Miss wins the Egg Bowl, but Keelan Lacey is the number 3 running back in rushing yards behind Fluff Bothwell and Davin Booth.
I don't even know if this one's bold. I think the news of Lane Kiffin taking the LSU job gets leaked before the game.
It'd be a little bold. If Alabama loses, there will be a petition online that says we will pay the buyout to send him to Penn State.
That one I believe. That one I very much so believe.
And you believe there will be a GoFundMe that will be set up and people will lose their hard-earned money to pay the buyout?
A bold prediction. I think John Summerall is announced as Auburn's head coach Sunday morning.
Ooh. That is bold. Bold prediction. I think John Summerall is announced as Ole Miss's head coach Sunday morning.
John Summerall's going somewhere. Man, I don't even know. I don't even know.
I got one more.
I think Lincoln Riley's announced as Florida's head coach on Monday morning.
I don't think Arkansas is going to announce their head coach on Monday morning. I'll go with that. That's a bold prediction. I will go one more, and I will send it off on this one for me. Ahmad Hardy has 400 rushing yards to close out his season against Arkansas.
I like that. I have one final bold prediction that goes against my game prediction, so forgive me. A year after 4 field rushes on the SEC Unfiltered Tour in 2024, the 2025 SEC Unfiltered Tour ends with back-to-back field rushes on back-to-back days.
You're an asshole. You're an asshole. I know.
I didn't pick one of those.
I know it's a bold prediction.
But I mean, if I get one Friday, I mean, may the gods decide. May the gods decide.
To be fair, you and I both can agree. If Mississippi State beats a top 10 Ole Miss team, they are rushing the field.
No doubt.
If Auburn beats Alabama, they are rushing the field.
No doubt.
It's just happening. It is.
Beware. Your team could be next. Correct. Your team could be next. That being said,
rushing Atlanta. I don't think that we can do that.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, it's not going to happen. Guys, that being said, we're going to put a pin in it. Really, really good stuff. Again, wanted to get this out on Tuesday because, of course, the Thanksgiving holiday. We want you guys to enjoy your time with family. As always, we're going to do the same, of course, as well. Eat up all the turkey, all the ham, all the stuffing or dressing or whatever you call it, your deviled eggs, whatever's on your plate. We hope you all enjoy it. Unless you don't think Vandy should be the playoff at 10-2, and then I hope you choke on a turkey leg. Either way, though, that's beside the point. Guys, as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out where we get your podcasts all across your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Stay tuned to all the content. Guys, previews and predictions are bleeding out the eyeballs. Go check those out. We really appreciate your love and support. Those of you that are already running up the numbers on those. Our guy Bear, I don't even know how he's going to do it this weekend, but he's just going to be hustling with the reactions and getting after it and the Lane Kiffin reaction. And I'm actually going to be jealous and envious that Bear's going to be getting to have all the fun back at HQ. That'll leave Sunday fun day for me to come in and act like a fool. So we'll get to do that on Sunday night or Sunday afternoon whenever we do it. And outside of that, just stay tuned for all the content. We got plenty more content throughout the week. Going to be really, really great stuff. And we can't say thank you enough. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, thankful for you all. Thankful that you guys all tune into the show. You show love, you support. Thankful to all those who come up to us in person. I've gotten so many compliments. I've got so many questions. Where's the bear? Where's the bear? I've gotten so many of that. We're really, really grateful for it. It's really, really awesome. And let's have one hell of a final weekend. Let's do it, man. One final regular season weekend, I should say, because we're far from done. We're far from over here as we keep the momentum rolling. So, Bear, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I'll say that on air, my friend. And
happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you. We truly appreciate you all. So, that being said, let's get on out of here. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night. Y'all have a very happy Thanksgiving, and let's have one hell of a rivalry weekend. Cheers.